Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Monday. My weekend felt a month long. It was one thing after another. I'm telling you, had to brave the stores. I definitely had to brave the stores. It was an experiment in terror. We have one area of Tulsa, it's 71st and Memorial. I live outside of Tulsa, but do the shopping in Tulsa. And it was just bumper to bumper traffic. Then went to Tulsa Hills to get some stuff over there. Took forever and a day to get across town because of all the traffic. I got over there. It was like the Vegas Strip, okay? They didn't care if they ran you over. They didn't care if they ran you over. So if you decided to get some shopping done this weekend, we're probably on the same page. You were on a mission from God. So I hope when people open whatever you gave them from shopping this weekend, Saturday in particular, I hope they appreciate you risking your life to get them their shit. Because I'm telling you, it was insane. I was at Marshall's and I just thought people were standing around talking. I realized it was the line. It was the damn line. I'm like, oh my God. Then I heard at the store 2 or 3 doors down at the Ross, and the Ross is a mess anyway. So you can imagine the Ross 2 weekends before Christmas. They said 2 hours to check out. Exactly, Oksana. It's like Black Friday. It was like Black Friday. And I don't do Black Fridays. No, I did Black Saturday. Black Saturday. And I'm telling you, they better have a shit-eating grin on their face when they open this stuff, because I know what I bought on Saturday. So let's see who is in here. I already talked to Shani. Shani's doing good. Karma says, I'm in more. So you do your shopping. Where do you do your shopping? Do you go to, I'm assuming you go to Oklahoma City. Let's see. Mama K made it in. She said, I just keep rolling. Oksana, wait, 2 hours to check out at Ross. Exactly, 2 hours. Yeah, you can get on Space Mountain faster than Nike socks at Ross. Hello, Mama B. Hello, Jay Woody. Share Bear's making it in. Share Bear's making it in. Angel P's in. Hello, Amanda B. We got quite a few Okies in here. Well, if you came across me Saturday in Tulsa, there was no Oklahoma love because I was hating everybody. I was hating everybody. It was crazy. It was crazy. And of course, as we continue on with the case, I hate to say the Idaho 4, okay? But that is the name that's been given by the media. You know who I'm talking about, though. They have names. They have faces on the screen. Kaylee, Madison, Ethan, and Xana. So I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. With the hell I went through this weekend, I'm probably not a couple of steps behind. I'm probably 10 flights of stairs behind. All right. Hopefully I got myself caught up as much as I can. So bear with me. Bear with me. I'm very well aware of the scream. The minute I heard about a scream, I had my PTSD from the Summer Wells case, which is still ongoing, kicked in. I was like a Vietnam veteran having a flashback. I said, dear God, do not tell me somebody a month into the case just now remembers hearing a scream. Well, he said he heard a scream. He said he heard a scream. It's been debunked. It's been argued about. He says he heard a scream, even though when all this happened, he said he didn't hear a scream. But that's okay. We're still going to talk about it. It might have been talked about all weekend. We're going to talk about it on a Monday morning. I believe I'm owed that after what I went through shopping on Saturday. We have every profiler who is retired or just is not in law enforcement anymore. Pretty much every ex-detective drawing a pension right now weighing in on this case. It's kind of like the Casey Anthony days. And we know how well that worked out. If you followed the Casey Anthony trial, every night on headline news, there was some talking head about where the case is going and how they feel the jurors are holding up and Ashcroft's next big move, every night, how they think it was going to go, how they think it's going to pan out. Well, they were all wrong. And in this case, we have a ton, and they are all very interesting, very educated. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of damn information coming out of the woodwork from all directions. We even have people who, have nothing to do with law enforcement, never have, never will. Some have been on the wrong side of law enforcement, if you know what I mean. And they're weighing in on News Nation about how they feel that the chief is overwhelmed, how he's frustrated, how he's not holding it together per se. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Of course he's overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed, and I'm just sitting in my office talking about it. How could he not be overwhelmed? How could he not be overwhelmed? Well, I'm overwhelmed right here. Thank you, Love for True Crime, for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you. Always check the members tab for when the next members live is coming up and other things. How can he not be overwhelmed? I don't care if you're the most, and he's not a detective. Okay, he's not a detective. The chief is not the detective. Just like the sheriff is not a detective. They're not investigators. So he's not investigating a crime, believe it or not. He's really not. He's the chief. He's a chief. So even if you're the most seasoned pro, you've got that scent that God gave a dog. You can just sniff it out. Criminals beware. You are the best detective. They write TV shows about you. This is still out of the norm. This is still out of your wheelhouse. There's just no way. You're talking about one weapon, 4 victims, 2 people downstairs that made it through the night. Who wouldn't be overwhelmed? Chiefs and sheriffs, they dress up as Santa Claus in the Christmas parade. They're not the investigators. So he's getting a lot of hell. He is. Everything from the way he always has a smile on his face. He kind of just has a resting grin, if you know what I mean. Some people say he's laughing at the situation. I don't think he's laughing about nothing. I don't think he's laughing about nothing at all. I think the powers that be that run that town, which would be the university, I don't think they're making his life too easy. I don't think so. Because, like we've discussed on the show before, They need ass cracks in the seats at the university. And there might be a lot of kids on their FAFSA that have changed it to anywhere but the U of Idaho. Could be. Could be. Could be. So I'm going to go through some comments from the last show. Actually, one of the comments is literally from the last show, which is the show we did Friday morning for little Athena. But they're talking about this case. And one's actually from my community tab. So not all came from the last show we did about Idaho. Hang on. Okay, 11 hours ago, Ja Rule. I'm going to assume it's not the same Ja Rule that has a recording contract and did a super awesome duet with Jennifer Lopez. If it is, I'm flattered. Thank you, Ja Rule, for listening to the show. So this is in regards to, on the community tab, I put this up and I haven't stopped laughing about it yet. I believe this was from Twitter, and absolutely, I must have just been in quite the mood because I laughed way too hard at this. So if you can look at the screen, it's hilarious. It says, "Hi all, new here. Can someone tell me if this guy's picture has been seen? He appears to be standing in front of the house. What date was this? Do the cops know? Is he a suspect? Friend? He looks super suspicious." Now, I'm assuming this was done in fun and it was in sarcasm. Well, some people don't know who News Daddy is, and they're like, "Oh, is this from the night? Oh," the comments have been cracking me up. Okay, Ja Rule weighed in and said, not to mention, he has flown home this weekend to get more clothes and to pet his dogs. Okay, so Ja Rule must not watch News Nation. So Ja Rule, if you're in here or if you catch us on the replay, I'm addressing your comment. By the way, if I showcase your after show comment, send me an email. You'll find out why. So I think the guy's actually been sick. So he might have gone home to rest, see his doctor, pet his dogs. Yeah, he wants to see his puppy dogs. The change of clothes, I don't know if Brian didn't bring extra clothes and, the people at News Nation didn't give him quarters for the laundry at the hotel. I don't know. But that in no way makes Brian suspicious. He also could just want some time off, because I have noted on the show before that I don't think Brian here or the powers that be at Fox News, I don't think that they I'm not extra impressed because they're standing in the snow, if you know what I mean. You can go inside. You can go inside and do your news anchoring. You don't have to be standing in the snow with it coming down on your head. So he's been out in the snow a lot, so you have a difference between, well, if you're out in the snow and then you go inside where the heat's on. Brian could have gotten sick from that. He could have gotten sick from that, or he just went home to pet his dogs. But just from this channel, I'm letting everybody know I do not think Brian Hinton is a suspect, suspicious person of interest or anything like that. He might have just gone home because he's got some time off. I don't know. So hopefully Ja Rule catches that. Homemade Oat Bar says this chief needs to step down now. Take that down so I don't confuse anybody. He needs to step down now. He is always smiling, smirking, and milking the overtime. He's worried about social media. He needs to get off Twitter and solve this case. All right, I don't know the chief, and I don't work in public relations for the police department in Moscow, Idaho. Just going to say it how I see it. As I said before, he's not an investigator. He doesn't have his magnifying glass going around the town, talking to people, searching for suspects. He's the spokesman. Not saying he doesn't have an important job, but he's not an investigator, so he's not going to solve the case anyway. He'll damn sure be at the press conference, but he won't solve the case. He's not an investigator. So whether it's, this came up during the Debbie Collier case. People said that the sheriff needed to step down. It came up in the Quentin Simon case, where they said they weren't impressed with the chief because he wasn't arresting Leilani right off the bat. After he said he wasn't going to. He said he was waiting on his investigators because, again, the chief in Chatham County is not an investigator. Just like this chief is not an investigator. He's got to wait on them. Then he's got to go knock on the door of the DA and say, do we have enough? And chiefs, whether it's a high-profile case or not, because of social media and what people are saying, even victims' families, they don't just give up those positions because of the case. They don't. So this came out, of course. Hang on. Let me see. I had it right here. I guess I didn't put it up. I guess I better get it. So this was on the Moscow. I'm starting to say it right. I feel like a local. This was on their Facebook page. So it's not just the chief. People say the chief is overwhelmed. He can't handle it. He needs to step aside. They love saying the FBI needs to just take over. Well, if you follow true crime for more than a minute, you know it doesn't work that way. Anyhow, so it's not just the chief that would be overwhelmed. If you can see on the screen, it says, as always, we want to remind the public to stay vigilant, travel in groups, and communicate with family and friends as you travel. Stay in contact with somebody. Don't make anybody guess where you're at. If you have any information regarding the case, please email the tip line. We want to thank the public for their continued support. The investigation continues with the same amount of resources. The police department is 6 detectives, 5 support staff, communications team. It doesn't mention the chief. The chief is the chief, but he's not an investigator. Not saying he's not involved in this case. Federal Bureau of Investigation, 46 investigators in Moscow and located throughout the country. 2 behavior analysis unit investigators. That is really throwing me for a loop. It really is. That tells me there's a lot more going on here than some jealous kid. The reason I say that is because if you follow true crime for more than a minute, behavioral science, they swoop in and swoop out. They're like, all right, this is what you're looking for. We did our profile. They hand off the ball, and they're off to dribble somewhere else. 46 investigators, but they still have 2 behavioral analysis units there. Not people. Oh, no, investigators. Two investigators assigned. That's kind of a big deal. Idaho State Police, 13 investigators, 15 uniformed troopers assisting with community patrols, ISP Forensic Services. And I bet there's a bunch of them. So when people are pinning him down, and again, I don't know the guy. He could be a big sack of shit. I don't know the guy. I'm just saying from my vantage point, I'm sure he is overwhelmed. I'm sure he has a lot of political pressure on him from the school. I'm not getting off that one for quite a while. But if you want to talk about overwhelmed, look at the people that are hands-on working this case. 6 detectives, 5 support staff, 46 investigators in Moscow, 2 behavioral analysts, 13 investigators from ISP, 15 uniformed troopers from ISP. They all have to be pretty overwhelmed too. They have bosses they have to answer to saying, where you at on this? We know you're swimming in DNA. That comes down to the very bottom one, ISP Forensic Services. You can just imagine what they are having to deal with. So I don't think it's very fair to just single out Mr. Smiley and say he can't handle it, because he's not the only one doing this. They have a lot of people. A lot of people. Okay, Jean says, have they checked the local FedEx drivers in Idaho? After this case, she's talking about Athena Strand, because she left it on the show for Athena Strand. She says, after this case, I would check the delivery drivers in cases before the RSOs. Well, as I said on the show on Friday, it is very sad that FedEx has become public enemy number one because of the Athena Strand case. I believe 99.99999% of FedEx drivers, maybe I'm being too nice there, I don't know, really just want to do their job and go home. We have a lot of people that are in this chat right now that work for the post office, work for FedEx, work for UPS. Don't say where you work. Bax Global, that's one. Because you guys always say to me, I'm driving, I catch you in between deliveries and stuff like that. No way in hell would I check the FedEx driver before the registered sex offenders in the town. But they also do multitask. Now, in these cases, I'm going to go ahead and let Jean know this. If you've ever followed a case to the end, it seems like when they get to about the pre-trial phase is when they start talking about people they've interviewed. It's almost always noted that there has been some delivery driver somewhere that they have asked, that they have talked to. If they saw anything unusual, the postman is brought up quite a bit. So no worries there. I don't think there was any delivery between 3 and 4 in the morning on November 13th. But I have a feeling that, especially since they're looking for the white Hyundai, I know some people say that it doesn't matter, but it does. It does to me, because they doubled down on this again, that they really need to talk to the owner of the car and its or its occupant, I think is how it was phrased. So they're definitely going to be talking to delivery drivers saying, we're looking for this car. You deliver all up and down that road. Have you seen this car? A car like it. A car like it. So, Jean, I have a feeling they are. As far as a FedEx driver being responsible for this, I don't think so. Oh, Pat just made a prediction. Pat said DNA is going to get this guy, I'm thinking this week. We're going to hold Pat to that. I think they're going to have a big break soon. I do. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me being hopeful. Today is 1 month, guys, isn't it? Let me look at my calendar. I told you this weekend felt like a month long. Nope, tomorrow is 1 month. I apologize. How rude of me. So we're on a month. We're on a month. Natasha said, Brooks, I submitted the same thing to you. Okay, thank you, Tasha. I don't think they're clueless. I think they have a lot on their plate that they have to go through. I definitely do. Look how many people are involved. 6 detectives, 5 support staff. The FBI alone has 46 investigators, 2 BSU agents, Idaho State Police has 13. When I look at these numbers, okay? When I look at these numbers, I'm trying to picture all of these people sitting around like a huge, huge table, almost like in Austin Powers when Dr. Evil's at the end and everybody's lined up. I'm trying to picture all of these people sitting around one huge table. And then when you think about it, they are all having to put science, their experience in their minds, all of these things together for one person. Because as far as we know right now, one person did this. That is absolutely amazing to me. And how proud this one person is, knowing that all of these people, not that it's just talked about very heavily, but all of these people, resources, time, money, are all being put together to find this one person. It's pretty amazing to me. Pretty amazing to me. So, what do we make of the scream, guys? What do we make of the scream? I'm kind of thinking that now he swears he heard a scream. I know this has already been floating around, and this is off of his Facebook page. Okay, this is off of his Facebook page. His name is Einan Harsh. And I keep seeing all of these news articles saying Harsh, Harsh, Harsh. I thought they were talking about the YouTuber Harsh Reality. And I'm like, oh, it's his last name. 4 killed. This is what he said November 15th. Aubrey said it has been debunked. Yes, the audio has been. The audio has been, but as far as him hearing it with his ears, he's still saying he did. As far as an hour or so ago. That audio that went around, that guy should be very ashamed of himself. That guy should be very ashamed of himself. He pulled something very similar in the Gabby Petito case. I'm sorry, Aubrey, I should have been more clear. I don't even want to entertain this fool. I don't. And on this show, we talk about cases and crime. That's it. I don't really delve off into, I don't go too far off the beaten path, if you know what I mean. There are a lot of, I guess, entertainment channels. And, you know, the way they say it is, well, we just talk about any hot topic. And so they cross cases quite a bit. So they might have been talking about Johnny Depp and his first wife getting back, and one of his wives getting back together one day, and the next day they're talking about true crime. Or they heavily follow Britney Spears' Instagram, or which Duggar dyed her hair and is wearing pants. You know what I mean? So they might be talking about that, but then they jump into true crime. And it's a free country. Talk about whatever you want. Just buyer beware. If you go to certain channels like this guy, who, by the way, this dude kind of gives me the damn creeps. He does. I'm not even going to say his name. But to go to the lengths that he went to fool people, I think YouTube needs to do something about it. That's just my opinion, though. If it's an innocent mistake and someone sent it to him, then that needs to be, then he needs to come out with that. But he did it before with the Gabby Petito case. So anyway, so forget about him. We know we know what's going on there. We don't need to worry about that fool. He's digging his own grave. But this guy, who people are still talking about it, he said he heard a scream. I'm just going to call him Einan Sue. So Einan Sue, and I would love to talk to the guy. If he wants to come on here, he can talk, because I want to hear more about just the area, not so much about the scream. But on November 15th, and this is nothing new, this has been floating around for a couple of days. This is on his public Facebook page, guys. This is a public post. That's still up. November 15th. 4 killed in stabbing across street. No screams, no evidence, no trace. So like professional killers, but why only 3, he's trying to say sorority girls? Shit doesn't make sense. Well, what does he mean, no screams? If there's no screams, he couldn't hear a scream. If there's no screams, then he couldn't hear a scream. He's going to have to explain this. So yesterday, he posts, "Well, I'm famous. I always knew this game would come. Dope-ass staff and cooking videos coming with some merchandise and maybe a GoFundMe. Down to barter for interviews, autographs, and services." So I don't know if he is serious, being sarcastic, or basically poking fun at how these things go. You know, when you insert yourself into a case, next thing you know, you see yourself talking to Ashley Banfield or something like that. So he's really kind of making light of the situation. I think he thinks he's being funny. If he's not being sarcastic and basically mocking the whole situation, if he's serious, well, you know what I think about that. Because that's quite a rude thing to say. Independent Thinker said he wrote a freaking 4-page essay on Reddit. I heard about that. See, Jeremy, I was calling him Jeremy Sue for a while, but he really did fade away. He was on Reddit, and the weird thing about Jeremy is the people that were flat out in Reddit accusing him, not saying he's suspicious, not saying they need to look into him, not saying maybe they need to get his DNA. The people that were flat out calling Jeremy the killer, they're going, "Sorry, dude." And he's like, "It's okay, I understand." And like, he's like made friends with these people. I don't know about you guys, but I'm never going to be so hard up for friends that I'm going to be like, "It's okay, you tried to ruin my life. Would you join my rugby group? I started my own room on Reddit. Can you guys come in there now?" No. No. Miss Lady Vale, but is this his real profile? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And no, I'm not telling anyone to go over and go to his profile, friend him, message him, comment, anything like that. Just telling you, that is what he said. That's what he said. What do you do? What do you do? And as far as law enforcement checking him out, no way in hell they haven't. He said he heard a scream. Of course they have to talk to him. Now he's trying to make himself a bit of a nuisance. So they're definitely going to talk to him. They're definitely going to talk to him. Let's go through what our friends at News Nation have said about this.
The Idaho Statesman newspaper spoke to 2 people, each who live in the apartment building right next to the house where the students were killed. And both said that the street was unusually quiet that night, especially for a Saturday night on a block often teeming with parties and college kids. One neighbor said that she normally sleeps with earplugs, but that night said she didn't need to. And she also said when police came to her door the next day, she simply told them she hadn't heard anything that had alarmed her during the night. Another neighbor described the quiet as bizarre. He also told the newspaper he thinks he may have heard a scream as he was dozing off about 4 a.m. And that is the same time police say the murders likely occurred. The neighbor said he dismissed that scream as a party sound and said he didn't think anything of it, even when investigators knocked on his door the next day.
Do you guys think it's weird that all these people are saying it was unusually quiet? It was unusually quiet on the street. Who the hell are these people? Are these all college kids? I mean, who measures how do they get any damn sleep? Is it always like Times Square on this street in Moscow, Idaho? What do you mean? Unusually quiet. I mean, how noisy does it get? Didn't have to wear earplugs. I don't know. To me, I think we have a lot of people a month in that are trying to get their 15 minutes. I mean, there was a party at the frat house. How can you say it was unusually quiet? Come on.
He also says he told police about a black luxury SUV that he hadn't seen in the neighborhood before. He said it was only parked a few spaces away from the front of the crime scene. But late today, police told this program exclusively, and I quote, "We have not heard anything about an SUV. However, if there is something we need the public's assistance with, we'll release it, like we did for the Hyundai." That neighbor wrote about the crime on Facebook about 12 hours.
Now, if he saw a luxury SUV, why would he not tell the police? Aubrey said, fear, speculation, and suspicions are bleeding into their memories. That could definitely be. If he lives right there across the street, then why a month in has he not said anything? Let's listen to that again. I want to make sure I didn't hear that wrong.
Neighborhood before. He said it was only parked a few spaces away from the front of the crime scene. But late today, police told this program exclusively, and I quote, "We have not heard anything."
Right there on the screen. We have not heard anything about an SUV. However, if there is something we need the public assistance with, we will release it like we did for the Hyundai. I'm just going to guess, just going to take an educated leap here, or uneducated leap, that was looked into and it is false. Because as of this morning, they're still looking for what I have on the screen. They want information. They want to talk to who owns, not that one, but a car similar to it. I have a feeling the DMV is lit up trying to match tag numbers, owners, the whole 9 yards with white cars. But he's saying this is a very dangerous thing to do, in my opinion, on the screen, 6 detectives, 5 support staff, 46 investigators with the FBI, 2 behavioral analysts, 13 investigators from Idaho State Police. This is a very dangerous thing to do, to try to mess up their investigation. To say there was a luxury SUV I've never seen before. And you see what they say. We haven't heard anything about an SUV. However, if there is something we need the public assistance with, we'll release it. Not cool. Not cool. If it looks the way it looks right now, this is not cool.
Thing about an SUV. However, if there is something we need the public's assistance with, we'll release it like we did for the Hyundai. That neighbor wrote about the crime on Facebook about 12 hours after police found the bodies. And very curiously, he contradicted himself. Let me tell you what he wrote, presumably when his memory was still very fresh, just 12 hours after the murders. Quote, 4 killed in a stabbing across the street. No screams, no evidence, no trace. It is unclear why he is now telling the Idaho Statesman newspaper reporter that he did hear a scream right when he was going to sleep at 4 a.m. and that he didn't even mention that to the police. Perhaps now the police will re-interview him about what he says he heard and what he says he saw. And then there is this story of what another neighbor saw. Reports that neighbor told the police that she saw the front door of the kid's home wide open.
Now, we did hear, it was the first or second show that we did about the massacre in Idaho, and we were talking about, there was an article about the door being open. It said ajar. And I said, explain ajar. What's ajar? Like cracked, halfway open, or are you using the word ajar and the thing was all the way open? I don't know, because I brought up it was 25 degrees that night, and of course people said, oh, that wouldn't matter. The heat would just keep kicking on and keep kicking on. But anyhow, let's see what they say. Also, people that report to friends, family, and social media and then scream that the police aren't doing anything. This is 2022, people. It's the same as it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Telling your friends and family or whoever isn't going to get you any help. You've got to tell the police. You have to talk to them. You don't go and scream, the police won't do anything for me, when you have never talked to the police. We have a recent case where they're like, the police wouldn't do anything for her. She never filed a report. She never filed a report. They're not going to do it for you.
About 8:30 a.m. on the mornings of the murders, on the morning of the murders. And if that detail was known to the police as well, it sure didn't seem to make its way to this guy, the chief of the police, James Fry, because when asked about it yesterday by the Daily Mail newspaper, Chief Fry said this was news to him. He said this, and I quote the paper, "I'm not even sure where that came from, to be quite honest. I'm confused. I don't know about you, but I want to bring in Caitlin Becker because she is a senior reporter for thedailymail.com, and that's the newspaper that got that interview. So, Caitlin, I am not quite clear on how the chief of police couldn't have heard anything and seemed surprised by your newspaper. Chief Fry said this was news to him. He said this, and I quote the paper, "I'm not even sure where that came from, to be quite honest. I'm confused. I don't know about you, but I want to bring in Caitlin Becker because she is a senior reporter for thedailymail.com, and that's the newspaper that got that interview." So, Caitlin, I am not quite clear on how the chief of police couldn't have heard anything and seemed surprised by your newspapers even asking the question about the open door. Because if there's one detail that would stand out among many, it would be that the front door of the house where the murders happened was wide open just 4 hours or so after those kids were killed, and multiple hours before anybody would wake up.
Ashley, the neighbor told us that it was 8:30 in the morning and the door was wide open. It stood out to me. It stands out to you. It is very curious that the police don't seem to have any information about this. I don't know if that's because maybe some people are hesitant to talk to the police versus talking to a reporter, but the question remains, now that we've reported it and it's out there, the police still don't seem to have commented on the fact that the door was wide open that very morning.
And they've had multiple officers for 26 days. Just this scene last night, 5 more agents going in and out of that house. These were very unusual looking agents, though. They didn't have any evidence bags. They went in, they went out, didn't take any notes as they were walking through the house. We could see that through the window. They certainly appeared to be FBI, maybe on a go-see to get familiarized for the first time, because they've added new FBI agents to this case, but they wouldn't answer our questions either as they walked by and kind of hid their faces, which was unusual as well. But I digress. I want to ask more about those.
I have to agree to disagree with Ashley Banfield. It is not unusual at all for FBI agents who are working to not stop and tell the media what they're doing, what they're up to, and of course they hide their faces. Come on. What does she mean? But I digress. No, they don't ever stop in the middle of their damn jobs and go, oh, I'm so glad you guys are all here. Oh, good. You brought your cameras and microphone. Let me tell you what we've got going on. No, she knows better than that.
To this case, but they wouldn't answer our questions either as they walked by and kind of hid their faces, which was unusual as well. But I digress. I want to ask more about those local cops and the chief himself. We have been begging to get the police in an interview so that we could ask some of these questions for clarity, not even to give us, I'd like information about the case, but just to get clarity on their messaging. And they refuse. They've just flat out refused to do any interviewing with me particularly, and many of our reporters and producers. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
All right, they're not going to talk to them. So some of you in here are saying that is not FBI. Those are U.S. Marshals. Well, if those are U.S. Marshals, they're there for a particular reason. Alicia says FBI, not U.S. Marshals. If it's U.S. Marshals, that's a totally different game altogether. Either way, how does anybody know they're in plain clothes? Is there a news article out saying, hey guys, the people that snobbed off News Nation, get it right, who was being rude? It was U.S. Marshals, not FBI. Who clarified this? So it's just a rumor for now, is what I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm just going to say that I think that the door being open definitely could be true, because it was mentioned by law enforcement very early on that the door was ajar. Now, this neighbor saying that they saw the door ajar could be someone inserting themselves. I don't know. The guy that heard the scream yet is making light of all of this. I'm gonna lean towards probably not accurate. This could be his imagination getting away with him. I don't know. All the people, hang on, Natasha, U.S. Marshals do not have to be FBI. Natasha, that's not true. U.S. Marshals do not have to be FBI. As far as all the people that sound like they're in a Stephen King novel going, the street was unusually quiet that night. I remember it being so unusually quiet. Now, you really think they're going to investigate unusually quiet? Thank you, Glenjamin. You're exactly right. Law enforcement only said door was open when they arrived. They didn't say anything about it being open at 8:30. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that for me. That is true. Alicia, we do not know who these plainclothes men were. And so that is Alicia said U.S. Marshals do not go to crime scenes. They go apprehend people. They do not investigate crime scenes. That would be true too. Stranger things have happened. So anyway, but the 5 people that were at the house in plain clothes are definitely law enforcement. But as far as Ashley Banfield saying, oh, I digress, because they didn't want to pose for the camera and tell them what they were doing there, I would be very worried about law enforcement if they did. I'm glad that she did put it in there and say, we've been begging the police for an interview. No. We are in the boat of misinformation right now because too much was put out and then had to be brought back in. Had to be reeled back in. So let's go through a couple of things late last week. Well, Friday and Saturday, I believe. I'm getting my dates all mixed up. That the chief himself said. Now, this is just me connecting the dots. I could be wrong. The chief has been speaking out. Well, there was like 3 or 4 days in a row. He's been making it a point since last weekend, not the weekend we just had. You know, the weekend where I went and I braved the crazy shoppers in Tulsa to get my Christmas wrapped up. Not this weekend that we just had, the weekend before, when Kaylee's dad, Steve, was doing almost back-to-back interviews all day. I mean, I'm saying every news cycle Steve was on there. I have noticed since then, the chief has been speaking out, and it's on their YouTube channel. So let's see what he said. This kind of goes along with what people have been saying about how the chief needs to step down, the chief needs to step aside. And this isn't just people in comments. These are some people that are, they're going on News Nation. One is a former FBI agent that's saying, oh, he's overwhelmed. He's overwhelmed. Yeah. I'm sure he is. He's got it coming from all sides. One lady, I don't know how the hell she got on News Nation. She just has a YouTube channel, for God's sake. She's the one really saying that the chief is in over his head and needs to give it to someone capable. Again, I hate to keep throwing this same thing up. He needs to give it to someone capable. It's not just on his shoulders. The local PD has 6 detectives on this, 5 support staff, a communications team. The FBI has assigned 46 investigators, 2 investigators just from behavioral and analysts. Idaho State Police have 13 of their own investigators on this. I don't know what these people are talking about, but it's not just hanging off the chief's belt.
We'll start with the white car. How many tips are coming in and how are police using them?
We've had an amazing amount of tips coming in on the white car. We appreciate everybody's help that has been sending in those tips, and investigators are vetting those and they're following up on those, and the response has been very great. We appreciate all the help from across the nation and our community.
In some cases, we're hearing that people are borderline being harassed by speculation and rumors out there. What are police doing about that?
Well, what we want people to know is that individuals who are being harassed in this situation, people need to be careful because some of it's happening online, some of it's happening through phone calls and in person, and people could be charged possibly in the future if it continues to a point where it reaches a criminal element.
Now, this right here, besides a quadruple murder in his town, might be something that is new to the chief. We've all been following crime for a long time, so we know that people go real life. Not just send a message asking questions, they go vigilante. Many times they don't use their real name. They set up Facebook pages where you don't know who the administrator is. And they've got the balls of a burglar because, well, nobody knows who they are. So this was put out, I believe, Thursday night. Let me grab my glasses. Investigators have been monitoring online activity related to this ongoing and active case and are aware of the large amount of rumors and misinformation being shared, as well as harassing and threatening behavior towards potentially involved parties. So when they say potentially involved parties, that doesn't mean 12 people were in the house committing this crime. Parties, this is just the way I take it, could be someone that could be a witness, could be the girls that were downstairs sleeping, you know, the roommates that survived, could be Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. He was being called during the night, so he's a party to this. They have to, you know, they had to talk to him. Could be a neighbor. So basically what they're saying is leave these people alone. Nothing shuts someone up faster than being intimidated. They need these people to talk to them. They need an open line of communication. And if they're being harassed by imbeciles, they're not going to talk to them. Why would they? It's probably scary. How scared would you be if you get, when I see message requests, I about shit my pants. I'm like, oh God, what? What could this be? And they've got people basically accusing them. Meanwhile, the killer is sitting back watching all this. Insane. And it's not just this case. It happens in lots of them.
And people could be charged possibly in the future if it continues to a point where it reaches a criminal element.
What can people do to help that situation?
I think number one, just call us anytime that there's any of that happening so that we can deal with that immediately.
And what about the information? What is being done to make sure the information that is out there is not causing speculation and rumors?
You know, there's been a lot of speculation and rumors, and what we want to say is we're the official source of information. We want people to pay attention to what we're putting out there because that is accurate information, and anything that comes from other sources is either rumor or speculation, and we want to put an end to that.
Well, I don't mean to give Mr. Smiles any false hope. The rumors and speculation are not going to end. Even when you solve this, okay? Even when you solve this, there's still going to be rumors and speculation that, even with a mountain of evidence, which most people go away. Most of them go away. They will fall off and they go on to something else. Got Me Stumped said, who cares if he smiles? It means nothing. It means nothing to me either. There are some people that think because he grins and he smiles from time to time, like he just has like a resting like smile on his face, they think that he thinks this is funny. I think those people are crazy if they honestly think that he has some sort of duper's delight over something so ridiculous. So, I mean, Not that what happened is ridiculous. I'm saying it would be ridiculous to think that the chief of all people thinks that this is funny in some way. I don't think he thinks this is funny at all. I don't think he thinks this is funny at all. And as far as him not making an arrest, he's not going to make an arrest. He's not an investigator. You know, when they were asking why he was personally going to the house, he explained he's not the one doing the investigating. Hang on, let me find that real quick. And then I got to go to my next one.
Describe what is happening.
Tamara said, I think it's a stressed smile. Yeah, some people, that's their expression. Some people they're in a good mood. You know, they're not mad and they just have a pissed off look on their face. He doesn't have that expression. I don't believe for a minute that the guy honestly thinks this is funny.
At the residence tomorrow.
Tomorrow, me and my command team and other individuals will be going in to box up personal belongings of the people that live there. And we're going to be getting those items back to the families. It's time for us to get those things back that really mean something to those families and hopefully to help with some of their healing.
Why do you personally want to be involved in collecting these possessions?
We have a lot of investigators investigating, and I'm not tied into the investigation side of it where I'm physically interviewing people, and it's important to me. It's important for us as a department to go in and take care of the families and get the items for them so that they can have some of those back and some of those memories back that are fond memories. And I'm a dad. I understand the meaning behind some of those things. It may be something that we gave one of our children or something, and we're just trying to bring some of that healing.
As people learn about this stage of the investigation, what do you want to say about where you're at with the investigation?
We're at that point in the investigation where we're still gathering information. We're still gathering tips. We're still gathering evidence. We're still doing everything we need to do. But there also comes a point in time when the family needs to have those belongings back, the ones that we can.
Okay, so there he explains the investigators have investigating to do. So he personally, and also it is a high profile case, so he's going to make sure he's holding the ball. He's overseeing that. Now, of course, that was last week. But I'm just showing you where he says he's not an investigator. People keep thinking that he is running around town with a pen and paper talking to people. He doesn't do that. And it's become a huge mess for them. And maybe with the holidays coming up, I don't know, people will be on to something else. And the people that have caused a problem for this department will stop. Because they mean what they say when they say, do not harass the parties involved or people that could potentially be involved. That doesn't mean they think that everybody there is a killer. If they need to talk to, say, well, let's say Jeremy across the street. God, Jeremy would love for that phone to ring and be part of this. But let's just say Jeremy's being harassed out the ass. But Jeremy is being harassed out the ass so bad that now he won't speak to the investigators at all. At all. That hurts him. For sure. Okay, then on Saturday, I'm telling you, he's been given all these little updates. Now, I heard, but it's not confirmed, and if any of you know, please let me know, because it's definitely important to know, that there's going to be an update today Is there an update today? Because I haven't seen it with my own eyes.
Tell us about the weekend. So many people in town. What's happening as far as public safety during this time?
This is a very important weekend for the university. It's our commencement weekend, and we're going to have a lot of officers around. We're going to have a lot of Idaho State Police around. You'll see us both at the commencement as well as just around town providing safety.
Where are we at in the investigation right now?
We're working steady on the investigation still. We're still receiving tips. We're still receiving items in from, back down at the lab. Things are continuing. We're still pushing forward, and we're at the normal process of investigation. We're still doing a lot of interviews, and I'm talking to a lot of people.
What about the number of people involved at this point?
We still have the same amount of staff. Idaho State Patrol, our local Moscow Police Department, detectives, and FBI, not only here locally, but still across our nation, across our state.
And that is extremely sad that over the weekend, they had their commencement ceremonies. I really hope that the behavioral science investigators were there, or panning the crowd. I don't mean out in the crowd, because it's just the Holly weird in me that believes that the person that did this did not flee town. For some reason, I believe that this person is amongst them. I don't know why. I mean, I have nothing to go on except just what I think. I think this person is somewhere around. It kind of like a Delphi thing. Hopefully it doesn't go like Delphi, where 6 years from now, they had the person, in their sights the whole time. But for some reason, I think that this person is still there. I don't know why I think that. JR said speculation is human nature. Absolutely it is. There would be something wrong with people if they just went about their way and didn't have anything to say about something so horrific going on in their town, in their state, in their country, in their world, however you want to phrase it. Absolutely it is. And they cannot tell people, this isn't China. They can't tell us that we can't be concerned or talk about things. That's not what they're saying. They're saying there's a line in the sand. Don't cross it. Don't call these people. You don't need to get to know them. You didn't even know these people existed a month ago. This isn't a time to make a new friend. Of course, we're going to continue to speculate and toss around our theories and what we think happened, but we don't need to message Kaylee's ex-boyfriend and say, hey, how's Murphy doing? I hear dogs react really hard to stress. No. On the sideline says, I'm just not sure why he would hire a lawyer. You talking about Steve? Kaylee's dad? What I read in the New York Post was, now this is how they reported what they heard, that he got a lawyer so that the police would have no choice but to share information with him. Well, that actually slows the process way down. Let me tell you why. The police ignore lawyers more than anybody. A lawyer's calling? No problem. That's okay. He can sit on hold. That's okay. A family member's calling? I'm going to talk to him. They don't give a shit about a lawyer. They hate lawyers. That could have actually made a bigger buffer between Steve and the police. Just my opinion. I'm not dogging Steve. I'm not trying to vilify Steve or whatever I was accused of last week. I'm just saying that when you bring in something like an attorney, a person like an attorney, and you think that's going to get, nothing screws something up more than a damn attorney. They're very handy. They're very handy when you need them. But if you're looking to get something done, you're slowing it down by putting an attorney in the mix. For one, they get paid by the hour. All right, guys. Well, I pinned the link if anybody wants to come up and chat. If not, I got to get on with my day. I do have a lot of stuff I've got to get done today. And I see that we are going to have an update sometime today. So I want to find out exactly when. Is it a press conference or just something they're going to fling out on Twitter? I've got to find that out. Bonnie said, traveling with the hubby, just reconnected. So if they have an actual press conference, then we'll jump in together and go through it together. If it's just an update, then we'll talk about it on the next show. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hate Mondays worse than shopping in December. That's the only metaphor I can come up with right now. All right, you guys are great, always great. You are the best chat and best community on YouTube, hands down. Not lying to you. I know for a fact. All right, guys, I got to get on with my day, and I'll see you over in Discord or one of the Facebook groups. But hit your notifications, because if they do have a press conference or there's some sort of breaking big time update, then we will definitely jump back in and talk about it. In the meantime, good luck surviving your Monday. Wish me luck. Bye, guys.